Hey everyone, it's Dr. Sarah Andreas, and today I want to talk to you about conducting one-on-ones with your employees and your team members. So let's start with, what is a one-on-one? Well, it's a time that you set aside specifically for that individual. Usually it's a same day, same time kind of a situation. Maybe it's once a week or it's every other week, depending on the schedule, where you spend time talking to that person. Now, if your people work remotely, it's going to be via phone call or Zoom. If you're in the same office, you'll go to their office or they'll come to yours. But the thing is that this conversation is a check-in. It helps you invest in that person. It helps you invest in the relationship and invest in their future possibilities and opportunities. So that's kind of what a one-on-one is. Why should you do a one-on-one? Well, one-on-ones will give you the opportunity to help set really clear expectations and offer suggestions for what the person can improve on and recognize the things that they're already doing exceptionally well. Our generations X and Y want feedback from their managers, and most of them aren't getting enough feedback. And I know sometimes people get kind of cranky about, oh, why do they need so much feedback? But think about when you first started working in your career, feedback was helpful for you to gauge if you were doing well or not. We owe them that kind of feedback. I always think of it as an investment in their future. And so the feedback that I'm giving them helps set them up for success. I try to do a good job with helping explain what's going on, things that they should be thinking about, where they are in their current role, what their future possibilities could be, because I want to set them up for success. I feel like as leaders, that's our job. Our job is to grow the next generation of leaders. And if I can't give people honest feedback, how are they going to get that feedback? They might get it from someone who doesn't care about them, who delivers it in a harsh manner. I want to make sure that I'm giving them feedback in a way that helps them grow. All right, so we understand why we should do one-on-ones and what one-on-ones are. Let's talk a little bit about how do you actually do a one-on-one. Well, I think the first step is that you're prepared. You have them scheduled on the calendar with a date and time that works for both of you. And this is so important because it makes them feel like they're valued. When you have a scheduled meeting with your leader on your calendar, it's like, hey, my leader cares about me. My leader's investing in me. So you're going to be purposeful and have it scheduled. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to prepare yourself. You're going to understand, where is that individual? Where do I think they are currently in the expectations and the goals that they've set? Where do I think they are? And you're going to look at some numbers to help back that up. So it's not just all your gut feeling. There's actual hard numbers, which, by the way, if you're not currently tracking this kind of stuff, you need to. There's always the possibility that your gut for something is based more on whether you like the person or not versus actual numbers. So anytime that you can put numbers to information, it can help you be a little bit more unbiased in your opinion of whether that person is being successful or not. So for example, if they're supposed to make 50 phone calls, you can look and say, okay, this person's consistently making their 50 phone calls. The results of those phone calls are X, and they're meeting the expectation, or they're below expectation or above expectation. So it gives you an opportunity to look at the raw data. Now, there's sometimes when our feedback is going to be based on gut, and that's when we see behaviors, because it's really hard to put a number to a behavior. And we'll talk more about that in a future episode. So you're going to be prepared. You're going to have your numbers and your facts all aligned. And then you're going to go into the meeting and you're going to practice some very, very simple to say, but a little bit harder to do. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to make a connection with that person. You're going to have either a brief conversation about their weekend, about a sports game, something that just helps you connect as a person. Because think about it, if your boss came to talk to you, wouldn't you want to know that they cared about you as a person, not just as the person who's creating the numbers that you need? So you're going to have a little bit of interaction, and then you're going to ask questions. You're going to practice curiosity. And when you are in a curious state, it allows you to see things differently and maybe even hear things differently than you would normally if you weren't in that curious state. So you'll ask questions about how do they think they're doing? What do they think they need to work on in order to get themselves to the next level? And then you'll offer feedback according to that information. The next thing you're going to do in this conversation is offer challenge and support. We all know that each of us have these limiting beliefs about ourselves, and your employees and team members are no different. They're going to have limiting beliefs about what they can do and what they can accomplish. So when you're in these one-on-one meetings, you're practicing your curiosity, I want you to listen for those limiting beliefs and self-doubts, and I want you to be able to challenge those and support them in viewing themselves in a different way. If I don't believe I can do 50 phone calls, then you need to challenge that because everybody else in the organization is able to do their 50 phone calls. So when you challenge it, you're challenging, hey, what's the real underlying thing here? Because the reality is that you can definitely do 50 phone calls. What's the underlying piece? Well, maybe the underlying piece is that I don't feel confident, so I need more training. Maybe I am not sure what to say, so I need a script. Does that make sense? So depending on what your situation is, you need to figure out how do I challenge and support that individual. The next thing, of course, is next steps. What are the next steps that individual needs to do in order to reach their next level or the next goal? And you want them to provide what those next steps are. When people take ownership of their next steps, they're more apt to actually do them. And then you also want to set accountabilities. One of the things that I used to do is I always had them send me a recap email. This is important for two reasons. Number one, it helps the individual mentally list out what we've talked about and what they've taken ownership of. And number two is I can't remember some days what I had for lunch last week. So the chances of me remembering the details of a conversation might get a little fuzzy, and I wouldn't want to mess that up for the person. So if we have it in writing, I have a better chance of remembering exactly what we talked about. And if we need clarification, we can look back at that email. Here's the thing. Right now, if you're leading someone, you have a huge impact in their life, in their personal life and in their professional life. By doing consistent one-on-ones, you're going to know things and understand things about that individual that can help them get to their next level. We all know that each of us as individuals have to do the work ourselves. But when somebody's there supporting you, encouraging you, and helping you keep on track, it can make a huge difference. So I'm excited for you to do consistent one-on-ones with your team members in your organization. You can make a huge impact on not only their current state and how they're functioning inside your organization, but you can also have a huge impact on their future and how they lead their people when they get into positions that are just like yours. All right, you guys, I'll talk to you next week.